Can a single stretch of water hold the destiny of over 100 million people? In the Horn of Africa, the answer is yes. The Red Sea is more than a body of water. It's a lifeline, a symbol of freedom, and a flashpoint for conflict. For Ethiopia and Eritrea, this sea is everything they have fought for, and everything they fear losing. Once brothers in arms, these nations are now locked in a tense standoff, their shared history overshadowed by bitter rivalry. Ethiopia, landlocked and ambitious, sees Red Sea access as essential for survival and growth. Eritrea, fiercely independent, views its coastline as the hard-won prize of its struggle for sovereignty. The Red Sea is a global artery for trade and energy. Any conflict here would send shockwaves far beyond Africa. The world watches anxiously, knowing a war would ignite a regional catastrophe. The question is no longer if the fragile peace will break, but when, and how devastating the fallout will be. To understand today's crisis, we must revisit the bloody, intertwined history of Ethiopia and Eritrea. Once united, Eritrea fought a 30-year war for independence, aided by Ethiopian rebels from Tigray. Together, they toppled a dictatorship in 1991, but their alliance quickly unraveled. Independence in 1993 brought simmering disputes over borders and trade. In 1998, these tensions exploded into a catastrophic border war, leaving tens of thousands dead and both nations scarred. For 2 decades, a Cold War of sealed borders and proxy conflicts followed. A 2018 peace deal briefly raised hopes, earning Ethiopia's Abiy Ahmed a Nobel Prize. But the core issues, especially Ethiopia's lack of sea access, remained unresolved. With old grievances resurfacing, Ethiopia's calls for a port are seen in Eritrea as a direct threat. The cycle of alliance and conflict shows just how quickly peace can unravel in the Horn of Africa. The Red Sea is a global lifeline, connecting the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean and carrying over 10% of world trade. Oil, gas, and goods flow daily through this narrow corridor. Any disruption here sends shockwaves through global markets. Major powers like the US, China, and Europe maintain naval forces to protect these shipping lanes. The region is a chessboard of military bases and commercial ports, with Djibouti hosting multiple foreign militaries. Control over the Red Sea means influence far beyond Africa. A conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea would threaten this vital artery, risking blockades, attacks, and soaring costs for global trade. The world's concern is clear. This is not just a local dispute, but a threat to international stability. The stakes are global, and the consequences of war would be felt everywhere. Eritrea's 1993 independence redrew the map. Eritrea gained over 100 kilometers of Red Sea coastline, while Ethiopia became landlocked overnight. Eritrea's ports, especially Massawa and Assab, are its greatest assets and symbols of sovereignty. For Ethiopia, losing the coast was a crippling blow. Now over 120 million people depend on Djibouti's port for 90% of their trade. This dependence costs Ethiopia billions and leaves it vulnerable to political shifts in Djibouti. Ethiopia's leaders call this a historical injustice, fueling a national obsession to regain sea access. Meanwhile, Eritrea's ports remain underused, haunted by the legacy of war and suspicion of foreign investment. The contrast is stark. A landlocked giant desperate for a port, and a coastal nation guarding its hard-won shoreline. This geographic divide is the heart of the standoff. For Ethiopia, the sea is survival. For Eritrea, it's identity. The impasse grows more dangerous with every passing year. For Ethiopia, sea access is now an existential issue, not just an economic one. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed insists Ethiopia cannot remain dependent on a neighbor for its lifeline to the world. Ethiopia's booming economy and population demand imports and exports, but bottlenecks at Djibouti stifle growth. Ethiopia has proposed deals, offering stakes in national assets for a port lease, and sought international mediation. It's also courted Somaliland for a naval base, raising regional tensions. Ethiopia's message is clear. It will secure a port by negotiation or, if necessary, by force. The pressure is mounting, and the clock is ticking. Eritrea's stance is unyielding. Its coastline is not for sale or lease. The memory of a 30-year war for independence runs deep. Any concession to Ethiopia is seen as betrayal. President Isaias Afwerki's regime views Ethiopia's demands as a threat to Eritrean sovereignty and survival. Years of militarization and isolation have hardened Eritrea's resolve, even as the country faces manpower shortages and diplomatic isolation. The withdrawal of key allies has left Eritrea more exposed, fueling its defensive posture. Any pressure from Ethiopia is interpreted as existential, prompting renewed conscription and military readiness. For Eritrea, this is not about economics, it's about defending the nation's very existence. The sacrifices of the past leave no room for compromise. The Horn of Africa stands at a crossroads, with three possible futures. The first is cooperation. Ethiopia gains port access through negotiation, boosting both economies and stabilizing the region. The second is Cold War ongoing rivalry, proxy conflicts and constant tension with no real peace or open war. The third is direct conflict, a devastating war that would destabilize the region, trigger refugee crises and threaten global trade. The choice lies with the leaders in Addis Ababa and Asmara. The world can encourage dialogue, but cannot impose peace. The stakes are immense. A single misstep could ignite the entire region. The future of millions hangs in the balance. The Ethiopia-Eritrea standoff is fueled by shadow wars and proxy forces. Both nations have a history of supporting armed groups to destabilize each other. Ethiopia accuses Eritrea of backing Tigrayan and Amhara militias, while Eritrea seeks to keep Ethiopia distracted and divided. Ethiopia's deal with Somaliland bypasses Somalia, angering neighbors and raising the stakes. Every move is met with a counter-move, escalating mistrust and risk. Non-state actors add chaos, making the region volatile and unpredictable. The line between Cold War and open conflict grows dangerously thin. Geography is destiny in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia's landlocked status suffocates its ambitions. Eritrea's coastline is its shield and pride. This is a struggle for power, over trade, influence, and survival itself. Both nations see the issue as existential, leaving little room for compromise. The language is absolute, the positions rigid, and the risk of war ever present. The world watches, knowing the fate of millions and the stability of a vital global region are at stake. The coming months will decide whether the Horn finds peace or plunges into conflict. For Ethiopia and Eritrea, the Red Sea's waters hold the key to their future, for better or worse.